Hello again, it's Jason Godbey from No Rest for the Weekend alongside Danny Mendes, and we just saw Captain America Brave New World. Going into this film, on a scale of 1 to 5, how psyched were you to see it?
3 out of 5 maybe. I mean, it's kind of hard when you have the original Captain America, Chris Evans. It's kind of iconic at this point.
Yeah.
It's like Michael Keaton as Batman at this point.
Or Christopher Reeve as Superman.
Christopher Reeve as Superman. How do you top that? Which is not an easy task, but I mean, if we're gonna get a brief thought, I mean, Anthony Mackie's pretty good.
Anthony Mackie is like a charisma machine. I do feel like there's a lot of acting and posing happening. It almost feels like he's overcompensating a little bit. You know, it doesn't seem to come
Natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of that, I think, is the script, which is a little corny at times.
I was rolling my eyes maybe
There were a
handful of
couple of
times.
lines where you're just like, oh man. We don't want to give too much away. We just saw this. The movie, so Captain America has handed the shield to Sam Wilson. We saw the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that's really where he sort of evolves. That's him getting the suit, him getting more into the role of Captain
Coming
America.
into his own as Captain America.
And at this point, when we see him here, he is Captain America. He's Captain America to the world. People know who he is. They're buying him drinks, and he's famous. Joaquin Torres, the character who was briefly in Falcon and Winter Soldier, the series, he sort of evolves into the new Falcon, so they're partners, and they have really good chemistry.
Young and experienced, but excited to learn and to do the hero stuff. I'm probably going to say that Harrison Ford was my favorite.
Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford, and he's great. And he's actually, there has been some criticism of Ford not really giving it his all in his later
That's why it's so
performances.
fun, because you can tell he's kind of bored, but
Yeah,
it's just fun to see Harrison Ford in a movie. In a movie like this, I mean, if you're going to get somebody to replace William Hurt, why not go for Harrison?
Yeah, I mean, like, they
mean?
really got a movie star for this role.
And it seems kind of fitting to get Harrison Ford for a movie like this because he's been in stuff like Clear and Present Danger.
He's been the president
political
before.
thrillers. Yep,
Yeah.
Air Force One. This is right up his alley.
Yeah, and he does feel presidential, like he
Yes,
does
he
feel
does.
like a president. We knew from the teaser that we were going to get Red Hulk. It's not a spoiler. Kind of wish they didn't spoil it. Like, it would have been great if we didn't see that in the trailer, but I guess they had to put something in the trailer. So I had interviewed Tim Blake Nelson about his role in this film when he was at Tribeca last year. He was very coy about what you'll see with Samuel Stearns, and I think he delivers in this film.
He's good. With what he has, I think he's phenomenal. I just don't think the script does right by him.
You think he's a little underwritten?
Underwritten, a little underused.
Bad
maybe.
guy wants revenge.
Generic motivation.
Yeah.
But I mean, Tim Blake Nelson is such a good actor that even with a bit part like that, he does make the most of it.
He's got some gravitas.
You need gravitas in a role like this, no matter how big or small it is.
I do feel like one of the things that was kind of missing in this was nobody really has superpowers. You don't get to see the big moments that you do in the other Marvel. There's no, Thor coming down from the sky, and there's no,
I think that's also kind of the charm, even from the original Captain America movies. I know, granted, Steve Rogers had the super soldier serum, but he still
But he punches and kicks.
punches and kicks. He has no particularly standout superpower other than super strength, super speed, agility.
I think Mackie does a really good job. Although, I will say, there are some things in this movie where you're like, how is he just not a bag of bones and blood at this point? Like,
100%.
Like, I don't know what kind of suit that
There's
he's
a
wearing.
lot of suspension of disbelief that you need to have prior to seeing this.
There's some pretty good destruction in it, and you're just like, yeah, he's mush. Like, his body is the consistency of toothpaste right now.
Which also kind of, without getting into too many spoilers, but the final act feels very lackluster, partially because of the fact that how does a guy like
how does
Sam take on?
How do you have a guy
And it
like
resolves
that?
itself in a way that's not, I would say, anticlimactic maybe.
I don't think it's anticlimactic, but it does feel like it's trying really hard. And I feel like the movie as a whole kind of feels like it's trying really hard. And I feel bad in a way for some of the actors in this thing because they are they're living in the shadows of their predecessors. It does have the Marvel movie problem of you had to do some homework before you saw it. Like if you saw this movie and you hadn't seen Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Which I haven't.
You haven't seen that,
No.
so there is some setting up in this. Don't know how necessary it is for this movie. Isaiah Bradley is in this. You really get his backstory. They do touch on it. They do give you a little bit of a refresher in this film. There is an introduction made where he explains his backstory in a very awkward way, but I guess they had to shoehorn it in there somehow. There was a big set piece that does relate to Eternals.
I thought that was fun. Probably my favorite.
Yeah, there was a lot going on there. Although, in terms of the suspension of disbelief, you're like, all right, how are these guys still alive? How are they doing these things if they're
Nothing
not
but
actually...
a scratch, which is hard to believe.
Yeah, it's like, you know, these guys are mush right now. We do get Giancarlo Esposito. He's fantastic. He's a baddie in this. And he's a total badass.
He's great.
He's terrific at everything.
Speaking of gravitas,
yeah, that
he's
guy,
the definition of gravitas.
He really, like, he lends the script a lot of gravitas. Harrison Ford really brings the gravitas in terms of that. It's just hard, man. Like when you think about the previous Marvel experiences that you had, you know, and I'm not going to get into a ranking or anything, but I feel like this movie is okay.
Yeah. I don't know if disposable is the...
That's
too strong a word.
It's terrible, but
I mean,
like, did we need this movie?
Exactly.
Did we, you know...
It's serviceable, but I don't think I'm gonna... It's a movie you probably wouldn't rewatch. It's not... If you're gonna compare it to another Marvel movie, it would probably be The Winter Soldier, which is kind of...
That's kind of the gold standard, though, for these movies.
It is the gold standard for all of them.
This ain't that. We paid to see this one. This was not a preview screening or anything like that. I went out basically to do this review. I was about a 2 or 3 on my scale of 1 to 5 in terms of hype to see this movie. Is this worth spending your hard-earned money going out to the movies to see it?
If you have Disney Plus, just wait for it to come out on Disney Plus, I would say. Listen, if you want a nice date night out...
I don't know. It's not a mess. It's not awful. It's not...
It's literally right in the middle.
And that's all for now. For No Rest of the Weekend, I'm Jason Godbey.
And this is Danny Mendes from thecinebuff.com.
And we'll see you next time.
This is the BTRP Media Network.